How's it, guys? We're back at part 2 of the Growth Counterweight cylinder repair video. Our shaft has come back from hard chroming. You'll see in the footage the sparks are a little bit intermittent on the grinding stone, which is indicative of a flat spot on the rod. You'll see as I run my hand along the shaft, it kind of bites with every rotation. That's my hand actually getting working past the flat spot and kind of just gaining a bit of traction. So yeah, the shaft is back. It's spot on size. Seal kit has arrived. I'm going to run through a little bit more as to why I picked certain seals. A couple of changes, but I think let's start off with the preparation on the gland nut and the piston. Once we're done with that, we'll get started on the honing of the barrel. Right, so before we continue with preparation of the gland and piston, we need to get this metal case wiper removed, as well as this old copper seal on the outside of the piston. We'll run through if there's any mechanical damage that needs to be addressed with these in the lathe, which I don't think there is, but we'll run through it anyway. And yeah, we'll get it in the lathe, get some sandpaper in here and just start cleaning up some of these grooves, make sure there's no pitting on the inside of the grooves. You'll see there is a little bit of damage on the inside of the U-seal groove. Normally water gets past your wiper seal eventually. It's just something that happens once these start to wear out. Starts to corrode the steel on the inside, starts to rust a little bit, create pitting, which is not a great surface for your U-seal to be sealing on. So we'll address that in the lathe and get these prepared and ready for seal kit installation. This is a metal case wiper, so you'll see I'm knocking the edge of the metal case just to kind of move it over a little bit, and you can come from the back and just lightly tap it until it comes out. That way you'll see there's no marks that I've created with the screwdriver, no scratches. You really don't want to cause any issues with your gland nut by knocking away with certain tools and just going crazy inside here. You just want to take it nice and slow, make sure you're getting the right angles on things, that you're using the right tool. You really don't want to cause any undue harm, so to speak, on your hardware. Okay, we're going to give this gland one last clean just to get it nice and prepped for seal installation. We'll see how much nicer the finish came out on the outside of the gland nut as well as on the inside of the gland nut after a little bit of sanding. It looks like that U-seal groove will be perfectly fine for us to use it as is. Now we could try and quickly get this piston seal off of this piston without damaging the piston. You can see somebody's been in here before due to these teeth marks here from a pipe wrench, but yeah, let's get that off. Now the trick is to use something sharp, but you don't want to get anywhere near your steel. You don't want to cause any damage. There we go. Once the copper splits like this, you just pull it off. Remove the O-ring. Well, it's actually two O-rings next to one another, which is not uncommon. And yeah, we've removed it without causing any damage. Just quickly gave the piston the same treatment as the gland nut, just quickly popped it in the lathe, gave it a sand, got rid of some of these high spots on these marks here. And so yeah, everything's all good there. I think before we carry on with this, let's get the barrel, which is already in the honing machine, set up so that we can get a nice hone on the inside of the barrel with the fine stones. So the first thing we had to do was calibrate the honing head, which is all the way down at the end there now. Essentially teach it its 0 point so that it knows where it is in its stroke. So that's called homing the machine. Now that we've homed the machine, we have to set up essentially an A and a B point. So our beginning of stroke and our end of stroke. So the honing head is already inside there. You do want it to run over the step on the inside there where the main bore of the barrel starts. You do want it to come over at least a good 10-15 millimeters, or else you could, if you were to be machining diameter out of this barrel, essentially have the rest of your barrel be machined to your diameter, but you'll have a bit of a tight spot on the front there where the lead starts. So you do want it to run over the lead a little bit. So we're going to teach the machine quickly its A and its B, which I need to pull the honing head in and out of the machine by hand once I've connected it to the honing head, which I will now bring back to this side of the machine. And once I've set up my A and my B, we will be ready to hone. Yeah, I've currently got it set up where I want at its beginning of stroke. So I can say teach start of stroke. Now I can push it all the way into the back of the barrel. Very gently. You want to pull it back just a bit, maybe a millimeter, just so that we know we're not making contact with the back. Teach end of stroke, and now we're ready to hone. Okay, barrel's out the machine, it's done being honed. Finish came out very, very nice. Like I said, we didn't really have to take off much. I mean, we didn't take off any material at all, really. It's just the fine stones that we were using. So that's all prepped. Next, we are going to move on to getting the seals installed on the gland and piston. Okay, so we're going to start with the U seal. You can see I've opted for one with an anti-extrusion lip on the inside. So this lip is just going to aid in preventing extrusion like what happened on the seal that was in here originally. Single acting internal rod copper. Easiest way to get these in is to just very gently give it a bit of a kink. And press it in. Okay, so the rod is in, everything is tight. Now, at the back here, I've left everything open so that you can see how the rack and pinion work. I currently have the rack and pinion slewing piped up, so I'm going to be energizing both sides. You'll be able to see how the rack and pinion here works, slewing from side to side now that this rod is inside the main chrome rod. I'll take the camera around the front as well so that you guys can see the slewing of the rod. Right, I've checked everything for leaks. There's no oil coming out of these proxy holes, not that they would because it's open at the back here, but I'm going to get this closed up, and yeah, there's no leaks on this circuit. So now the only other place it can leak is that seal between the barrel and this rear cavity. So I'm going to pipe up the actual hydraulic cylinder portion of things, test the cylinder in and out, and that way if we do see oil come out of here, we'll also know there's maybe an issue with that seal that I've installed between these two cavities. So you can hear there's a lot less pressure bringing the cylinder in. That's because on the way out, like I explained in the previous video, sorry, just moving it out again. Like I explained in the previous video, that counterbalance valve on the back needs to be piloted open in order for the cylinder to extend outwards to drop the weight. So we're also having to build up a lot more pressure on our power pack to pilot open that valve in order to press it or push it out like we are now. Okay, everything's all good. There's no leaks coming out of these proxy holes anymore. I've checked for leaks at the back, all the fittings, the valve, as well as on the rod and the proxy sensors on the outside. So that's that. Cylinder's 100% done. I would normally give it a nice spray, make it look nice, but the customer's already on their way. They're pretty desperate to get this back on the machine. But yeah, that's how to repair the cylinder.